OK, overworked GPs say they're at capacity thanks to COVID, and that's compromising the care of other health issues. They also say the Health Ministry hasn't communicated a plan to deal with the upcoming wave of winter illnesses. So to respond to this, Director General of Health, Dr Ashley Bloomfield, is here this morning. Thank you very much for your time, Dr Bloomfield. The Royal New Zealand College of GPs has said that GPs are at capacity just dealing with COVID patients, and other services such as cancer care are being neglected. That sounds like a crisis in the health sector, is it?
Oh, kia ora, good morning. I don't think it's a crisis in the health sector. There's no doubt that general practice, in fact, the whole system is under a lot of pressure at the moment with this big Omicron wave. And we had planned for that, and general practice and general practice leaders have been a very big part of that planning. There's a lot of support out there for them to help them through this period, and they're doing a fantastic job. Of course, it does mean, and this is happening in our hospitals as well, that some care is being deferred. And in the case of general practice primary care, some of that is important preventive care like cervical screening, perhaps some of their checks on people with long-term conditions. And we had always expected that through the Omicron peak. But of course, as they've said, it's now important we sit down and work out a plan for how we catch up that care and also get ready for winter with other viruses likely to come across the border like flu.
Yeah, and just on that, we were told that we're going to be caught at a time of great weakness. That's Helen Pertussis-Harris, the Auckland University vaccinologist, with the winter flu, with RSV coming into the country. So how is the health system, when it's already at capacity, going to deal with that massive influx that we see every year over winter?
Well, we do winter planning every year anyway, regardless of whether we've got COVID in the country, so that is well underway, and our district health boards have got that planning going, and that goes right across the community, so general practice, Healthline, as well as our hospitals. Of course, we're also planning our flu vaccination campaign for this winter. We've got extra vaccine coming into the country. We will be going very hard on ensuring all those people who are eligible for free flu vaccination, over 65s, pregnant people, anyone with pre-existing conditions of any age, that they get that flu vaccine. That's going to be important. So that's an essential part of the planning, but also just thinking about ways we can support the hospitals to look after those extra cases that they will likely see over winter.
Yeah, indeed. We heard from the Prime Minister yesterday that, there could be an end to vaccine passes and mandates and gathering limits. What is your take on that? When do you think that they will, she obviously takes your advice very seriously. So what are you telling her around that? When can we see an end to some of the mandates, including the vaccine passes and gatherings on crowd limits?
Yeah, well, certainly the Ministry of Health and myself specifically are involved in providing that advice through to the PM and other ministers, and they're actively considering it. So I don't want to preempt at all what their decisions might be, but they're obviously very pertinent issues, and particularly with the announcements yesterday about the border reopening. So, of course, if we've got people, including tourists, coming to Aotearoa, we want to make sure that they can access as many places as possible.
So they're pretty much going to be gone before the 12th of April, before the Australians can come in.
Well, I think what the PM signal was that's an important decision to be made before the 12th of April. So, yes, again, I'll just leave that to the PM and Cabinet to make that decision, and I'm sure she will communicate it once they have.
OK. Have we hit the peak of Omicron? Are we out the other side?
Not yet. We've definitely had that peak in Auckland, and of course Auckland was first out of the blocks, as they have been right through the pandemic, and we're definitely seeing the case numbers there much lower than they were a week or two ago, which is good. Hospitalisations there, though, as we would expect for the next week or two, still creeping upwards, but we are seeing in other areas around the country that the case numbers are still going up. This is what we see with flu every year. It tends to make its way down the country, and different regions affected at different times. So overall across the country, we're still around that 20,000 cases a day. Let's see what happens over the next week or so if those case numbers start to drop.
OK, and a question here from Bernadine. She wants to know, why can you sit on a crowded plane right next to someone for an hour and a half down the country, but you can't sit in an open-air stadium watching a game of rugby? And when do you think that's going to be able to change?
Oh, look, we'd all love to get back to watching live sport, wouldn't we? So that's one of the very important matters that's been considered by Cabinet, and we've given advice on that. What I can
What's
say,
your
and of course,
advice
we've
been?
said this right through the... Well, of course, our advice has been fairly clear that outdoor venues are much lower risk than indoor venues. At the moment, the red settings do put a limit on the number who can attend outdoor events.
So do you think that the red settings should go? Do you think we should go to orange? Is it time to go to orange?
Our team just looks at this every 2 weeks. We had a look earlier this week, and their advice to me is, given the outbreak is still very active, we should retain red for the time being, but we are looking at it again in early April, and we will go to the government with advice at that point.
OK, it doesn't sound like anything's going to change on that front anytime soon. That is Director General of Health, Dr Ashley Bloomfield. Thank you for your time this morning.